Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about maybe a little bit of an oblique subject, and I'm going to be talking about zodiac signs and coping with death. And this will be part one of a two-part segment. I'm going to go through the signs Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo in this one. And yes, it does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Let me get started with Aries. Now, Aries is a sign that possesses much courage and fortitude. And when they face adversity and dealing with the death of a loved one, I think it goes without saying that they deal with this in a very courageous manner. Their manner is very straightforward and direct, and they deal with this with a lot of courage. And I think the thing to remember as far as this goes, now, you know that Aries is ruled by Mars, so there might be periods of acrimony and anger more so than the average sign, though, that this person may go through during this period. If this person is even told that they're dying, they will likely deal with it with more courage than the average sign. And really, another thing is that due to Aries' straightforward and outspoken manner, if they feel that there's a family member that's not giving enough for after the death of a loved one, in terms whether it's monetarily or what have you, they'll be likely one of the first, if not the first ones, to speak out regarding this. Now, the next sign, Taurus. Well, Taurus is a sign connected with perseverance. So Taurus can have a very strong ability to cope and deal with death, I believe. Taurus can really epitomizes composure and calmness, and I think this applies to death situations as well. Now, the thing about Taurus, when I look at this sign, is that there is something where even if they are the ones dying, they'll even be they would stay more calm than the average person during this period. And I think that that's very important thing to remember as far as the sign Taurus goes and coping with death and whether it's dealing with their own possible death or it's dealing with a loved one's death. So those are some things to consider with this sign. Now, the sign Gemini. Now, Gemini is known to be very loquacious, and I think of all the signs, this one will be likely to do more talking during this period and maybe encourage interaction with loved ones and family members as far as just whether it's talking about the situation in the most positive manner and just being very objective about it. Now, Gemini can be seen as far as their emotions being somewhat superficial, and they don't really always come across as very sensitive or emotional. But I think with Gemini, though, this is a sign when you look at, they can be a lot deeper than what they're actually showing, and I think it's very important to remember that during this kind of period of adversity or loss of a loved one. So that's something to look at as far as Gemini goes. And Gemini, obviously, they could be somewhat mercurial and changeable, and they might go through as far, be a little bit even more moodier during this period as well, I think. Now, the sign Cancer. Well, Cancer is very sensitive and emotional, and this could apply to periods where they're dealing with the death of a loved one or they're facing death. This could be the person, though, that would be willing to, more likely than maybe the other signs, to get family members together and commiserate and reminisce about maybe positive periods about this loved one that had passed away. And I look at this as Cancer is that sign that is strongly connected with home and family life. So that's how I see Cancer reacting. Cancer can be very sentimental, and they could also go into their own little sanctuary or place of refuge during this time of loss. Cancer is an introverted sign and might even become more so during death of a loved one. So now the next sign, Leo. Well, Leo is a sign that is considered very proud and dignified. And if they have they have a death of a loved one, they might somehow suppress their emotion to some degree in front of others and might not display it outwardly. Now, Leo can cry very loudly, I think. And but they might not show. There might be some reluctance or hesitancy in showing this emotion in front of other people. And another thing about Leo is, now as a family member, Leo can be very generous and magnanimous, and this is a sign that would be willing to give a lot in terms of funeral expenditures, and be there for family members during this time of mourning, and or family members and or other loved ones, non-family members even. Well, the next sign. Well, Virgo. Well, Virgo has that propensity or proclivity to worry, and I think sometimes Virgo may need that reassurance that everything's okay for them to carry on, and not to feel like, well, I'm going to go about my day-to-day activities, and maybe this isn't right. Or they might worry that they might think, well, maybe I wasn't there enough for this particular loved one. But they have to remember that everything, in most cases, you have to move forward, and thinking about something, ruminating or worrying about something, you can't undo the past. So Virgo has to keep that strongly in mind. And if Virgo is actually told by, say, they're at some doctor, or they're at some hospital, and they get some diagnosis that they have something that's perilous, or that's something that's going to maybe kill them in a fairly short time, because of their ability to want, I guess you could say, because of their cautious and prudent nature, it is an earth sign, they will likely go to another physician, one or more, to get another diagnosis, because they just want to make doubly sure that the diagnosis is accurate. And Virgo, being an earth sign, can incline toward being melancholy too, so they might become a little bit more despondent over something, over loss, much like Taurus being an earth sign, and Capricorn as well. So those are some things to look at in terms of Virgo and coping with death. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Zodiac signs and coping with death, part 1. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Zodiac signs and death, part 2, and coping with death, part 2, I should say. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.